Hello, everybody. This is Catholic Dad, episode number 186. Just throw it away. So Alexander Solzhenitsyn, we've actually talked about him in the past. He was the great Soviet dissident that essentially stepped up to communism and said, come and get me. And he told the story of the Gulag Archipelago, and he told the story of what communism was, because everybody kind of knew it, but nobody was saying it out loud. And so he wrote some great novels. And he was the good communist until he wasn't, until he started criticizing Stalin in a private letter to his friend, going, "What are we doing with all our countrymen, killing them?" And he got thrown in a Gulag Archipelago, a labor camp, for 8 years to pray and to be re-educated. And so he quietly determined the cause of why his country had fallen to communism and secular humanism and um, the fallen to depravity the way it did, and people actually consented to it. And what he decided was, through many years of prayer, is that the problem why his country fell was because of him. That he consented along the way to small evils of the world. That he actually allowed himself to be overtaken by certain sins and temptations, by the sins of pride, by not pushing sin out of his life, and that as he did that, he quietly consented to the fallen nature of man, and that he was the personal reason why the Soviet Union fell to communism, and why the Bolsheviks prevailed within the Bolshevik Revolution. And that's if you think about that, we always look for why the world is so bad, and we always look external to ourselves. We look at our neighbors and what they're doing, or staying out late, and, or fornicating, or doing drugs, or alcoholism, or you name it. We look at our family members. We look at we look at our priests in our church and our work, our fellow workers. That what the heck are they doing wrong? But the problem is you have nothing to do about that. And in fact, the reason why the world has fallen is not because of them, because it's quietly because of you. And so when you have 8 years to quietly meditate about life in general, hopefully you come to the conclusion that you actually have problems in your own heart and in your own soul. And I think that's what Solzhenitsyn came to, that no matter what the rest of the world is doing, the one place where we can perfect is within our own hearts and our own minds and our own souls, and that we should try to figure out what that is. And I don't know if people have actually spent a lot of time praying about this stuff, but picking yourself apart, trying to figure out what you could do better in your life and what you want out of your life. There are things we have in our life we just want to throw away, whether it's impatience with the children, whether it's, you come home, you drink a couple beers and you don't want to do that anymore, whether you're smoking cigarettes and you don't want to do that anymore, whether you're not certain about the relationship with your spouse and you want to make that stronger, whether you have a problem with food and you just eat a little bit too much and you can't say no and walk away from the table, or you choose unhealthy food options, or, well, you get the points. A lot of these things, the whole secular world will look at and tell you it's okay. And for the most part, if we don't spend time in prayer, meaning quietly meditating, closing our eyes, closing our mouth, and just listening to the world, and listening to our own hearts, we're not going to figure out what they are, because the rest of the world is telling us we're doing a good job. But if you want to do a good job, you're going to want to push the things that the world tells you is good out of your heart. Like the world tells you gluttony is good, and fornication's good, and pride's good, and lust is good, all the other stuff. And so if there are the little things in your life, and if you quietly meditate over it, things you want to make yourself better with, you can get them out of your life quietly, and you can actually reform the world starting with yourself. So if you're, I don't know, half a pack a day smoker, and you want to end that, quietly pray about it, and I bet you can do it. I bet you have the internal fortitude to actually get it done. And then if you come home and you kind of drink 1 or 2 beers and you don't want to do that anymore because it makes you short with the kids or whatever else, or you feel the temptation of it that you have to have it, well, you don't have to have it. In fact, try to break yourself of that habit, because when you're controlled by substances, that's no good. Food as well. Food is an addictive structure, and some people don't, or addictive substance, and some people don't have the internal, fortitude to actually say no to it. But you actually do. But what that takes is prayer, and it actually takes recognition that the problem is actually deep within your own heart. It's not anybody else's problem. It's like if you have a problem with food, it's not because your wife cooks bad food. If you have a problem with, or, you go out to restaurants too much, or, the problem is really you. It's the same reason why what Solzhenitsyn determined. The reason why the Soviet Union fell to moral depravity and communism was because of him and him alone. And so if you could do that and you can overcome that, boy, you can make the world a better place. And so anybody who wants something out of their life, just honestly think about it and identify it. And if you are intellectually honest, you will find some things you want out of your life. You will, no matter what. And if you want them out of your life, you actually just have to make the decision to get them out of your life. You have to recognize them, and then you have to throw them out of your life. And sometimes this takes some motivation too. And that's why we have the sacraments in the church. I'd say get the confession and ask the priest how to get out of your life. They might actually give you some good options. And so this is Catholic Dad making you think about it. Get the Mass, pray the daily rosary, but whatever it is in your life you don't want, and whether it's something that the world says is okay or it's even a minor thing, throw it out. Perfect yourself, become a better person, and do holy things. And well, anyway, pray the daily rosary, get the Mass, and share with your friends. God bless.